Hello mate, so today we are going to create API using a Spring Boot and Java. So some of the prerequisites here are using JDK, using a build tool and using an IDE. I am using JDK 17, although you can use any JDK, either 8, 11, 17 or the latest one which are 21 and 24. And for build tool I am using Gradle, although you can work with Maven as well. And you can choose your choice of IDE. Here I am using IntelliJ IDE. Otherwise you can go with either a Spring tool suite or even Eclipse. So the next thing is what we are really going to build. So I'm just going with the generic microservices. So this is a blog service. Here we will create a new blog, find all the blog, search it using multiple ways, delete it, update it, all those things. One thing is, here as a database I am using in-memory database, that is H2. Although you can go with other DB as well, such as MySQL, Oracle, or even some NoSQL DB as well, like MongoDB, Couchbase, Cassandra, anything. Next thing is layering. So this you will learn as you will start working on either as a project or even in a college project. So we will be having our on controller, service layer, repository, and we will be creating multiple modules. So here I have written entity because we are connecting it with DB. So now we are ready to initialize our project. So first of all, we have to use a Spring initializer, that is using a Spring start Spring.io. Some of the dependencies which really required for this project are web dependency, H2 and JPA repository. So let's get started. I'm using a Spring initializer to start my project. Just still loading for me. So we have a good UI. So we have a quite interactive UI here to select all the things as an initializer. So I'm going to select language as Java, project that is build tool as Gradle with Groovy language. These are some of Spring Boot version which you have to use. So I'm going with the latest one, 3.4.5. Although you can use any Spring version, but I will always recommend to use the latest one. Next one is selecting the project and configuring it. So I'm going to give my project name, my service name, that is blog service, and description is building blog service. Okay. Next one is how you want to package your application, either war or jar. So I am going with jar. Second one is using the selecting the Java version. We are having 24 available, although I am going with Java 17 because JDK 17 is installed in my system. Now we have to add dependency from here. So as I said earlier, we have to add web dependencies, adding H2 as an in-memory database. You can read all the requirement here. Adding JPA. After configuring all those things, you can view your project view by clicking this explore. So as you can see, my project is ready to view. So this is my build.gradle where all my dependencies, Spring Boot and Java version are available. So here I am using 3.4.5 and for Java I am using Java 17. Coming to our dependency, you can see I have added data JPA, starter wave as well as H2 database. Let me verify my application. Yeah, so my application is also configured. You can verify it as we are having our Spring Boot application annotation ready. So let's close it and download it by clicking on this generate. You have to go to your folder, extract it, as I have extracted my application block service in my folder. So now I have to import this application. So now I will open my IntelliJ IDEA, click on File, New, Project from existing source. I have to go to my folder, select on my application. This is my application. Now I will click on my build.gradle. So this will import the whole project for me. Let's say new window. This will take a couple of minutes to import my project. This will take a couple of moments to initialize my project. After that, everything will be ready. Now my application has been imported. So let's verify the build.gradle first. So my plugins are ready, that is Spring Boot, Java, and dependency management. Coming towards language, I am having my Java 17 ready here. I am having a Spring Boot starter JPA, Babe, as well as H2 in-memory database is ready. So next thing is we have to verify our application. Let's go to your main application. This is your main method. And on this class, you can see a Spring Boot application. So we can verify it by running this application first to check everything is going good here. So let's start the application first. Let me start it. So the application is getting started. It will take a couple of minutes to start it. It will take few seconds for the startup. You can see here Hikari, correct? So in your interview, you will be asked this question a lot of time, that as you can see, the application has been started. It took 14 seconds because we have started it the first time. From next time onward, it will take a bit less time. So that means we have imported our application in a correct way. Now let's jump to few property. So first of all, I'm going to delete it, as I'm going to use YAML instead of properties file. Although you can work with application property as well, but I prefer using YAML file. So the first thing is giving my application a name. For that I will be using a Spring application name property. Slave block service. And let's set our database first. So for that we have to configure a couple of property, that is H2. Console enabled as true, setting a few more properties. Data source as URL. give your URL for your DB. If you are using H2, then you can use the same, but make sure you are updating the name of your database. So here I am using blog app. So here I am using application YAML, although you can also go with the application properties as well. So I have my application name ready. Along with that, I have configured a couple of database properties, such as I have to enable my console, and apart from that, I have set configured my data source. So for that, I have set URL, class name, user ID, and password along with my dialect. So now, as we have set it, let's create an entity first. So for this, I am going to create an package entity going to create a class block. As my class is ready, it sets few property. They are setting the ID, setting the title of your block, and let's say we are having a category. As we are putting our ID as primary key, so let's annotate it with @ID. So make sure it comes from Jakarta persistent ID. Another thing is that we have a generated value for our primary key. So I am setting a strategy, that is generation type.auto. Next thing is we have our constructor and getter and setter IDs. So for that I am generating it directly from ID. Generate it first. Next one is generating constructor. Creating a default constructor if required, and marking this class as entity. Never forget to mark your class as entity who is serving as your table. You can have your table name as well here, like table, but it will work for us, so I'm not going to do so. Second thing is we have to create a repository. So let's create a new package named repository. We have to create an interface. So click on Java class interface, blog repository, extends it with GPA repository. So here we have to give our class name, that is entity, block, and primary key, which is of type long. Mark this repository as @repository. Now we have configured our entity as well as repository. That means we are connecting our application with database directly. So now coming towards the requirement, we have to create a couple of requirements. So let's start writing them. First of all, I'm just giving you a brief idea. What are the requirements we are having? Create a controller first. Creating a block controller here. So this is where a Spring Boot comes into picture. So the first thing is we have to mark our controller class as the REST controller. I'm having a resource for this controller as well. So for that I'm marking it as request mapping, giving my application name as say block. Now I'm just pointing out what will be the endpoints or resources I'm having. So I'm going to create one create block method. So first of all, let's write it. Response entity, it will be of type block. We will be using request body to map our request from client to our Java code. Using blog as new blog as a request. Let me import it. I'm returning null as of now. Next we are going to create a get all blocks method. So for that we will be having a response entity of list of log type data, that is get all blocks. It will fetch all the blocks from our DB and return back to the client. So this will be our new next functionality. The third one which we are going to create is get block by ID. So it will return again a block. Get block by ID, and here we are having our ID as a parameter. So this will be passed from path variable. So for that I'm using path variable to map this my ID. I will write down all the resources, don't worry. First of all, I am just giving a brief idea what are the endpoints or what are the functionality which we really require for our API. So we are having our create blog API, get all blocks from DB, get block by ID. Next one is updating our blog. So that will return again blog. To updating a blog, I am taking user input for ID along with the blog which they really want to update. That is blog updated, say updated blog. Next one we are going to create a delete blog. So it will delete all the blog associated with that ID. It will not return anything, say void delete blog. So we have to block, it's not going to return, so we are fine with it. Last one, we are going to search the block using a title, because we may have a requirement. Okay, so we are going to search it with category. That makes more sense, because a category can have multiple blocks, so by doing so we will be having multiple or list of block when we search with category. So that will be response entity list of block when we search using category. Big category. I will explain each of the line which I have written, don't worry. Okay, so I was simply creating a contract, what we really want to build right now. So we are going to create an API that is block service. So the functionality which it will service, it will create a block when a block will be passed to this API from the client. This API will serve all the blocks which has been created using this get all blocks. It will be serving all block whenever it's being passed by ID. It has also a functionality to update the existing block when we will pass the ID along with the new block. We can delete the block by ID, and the last one is searching block by category. So user can search the blocks by category. So it will simply give it will simply return the list of block which belongs to that category. So now these are the functionality. So let's start writing each of them. So first of all, I am going to create a service to serve this controller. Create a package named service. Class will be block service. Let's mark it as a service class. Okay. So inside controller, we have to first take the dependency of block service here. So for that, we are achieving it using dependency injection. So here I am using constructor based dependency injection. So let's start with that first. Block service. So from Spring Boot 3.x onward, it's not mandatory to mark our constructor as auto-wired here, because if we are having n number of instance variable and from parameterized constructor if we are initializing n number of variable, then it's not required. Although let's say we are having 5 instance variable and we are initializing only 3, then in that case we have to auto-wire it. Otherwise, the Spring Boot automatically injects the dependency to this class. So as we are having our dependency ready here, so now the first requirement was to create the block. So for this one, it must be a post API, correct? So for that, we have to mark this as post mapping, and I'm going to simply give it the resource name as create. So the first requirement is how client will pass a block type of data to my application or API. So I will explain it later on, but right now we are using request mapping to map the JSON data to a Java POJO class. Although these are done implicitly by Spring Boot, but internally it uses object mapper to map JSON to Java object. So the next task is to create a blog. As we have our endpoints ready here, that is resource. So I am going to create a blog, that is created blog. I will be using service class to create this blog service. I'm asking to create a blog for me, and I will pass simply new blog here. What? Okay, let's create it first. I have to initialize repository here, and by dependency injection the repository class dependency will be available inside our service class. So we have to do the same way which we have done in our controller. Creating instance of blog repository, creating a constructor of blog service, and passing blog repository as argument to constructor. Now blog repository is ready to use. So I'm in my service class. Let's save it to our DB. So for that I will be using this dot blog repository. We are having save method inside our JPA repository. So I'm directly using save method and passing this new blog here, and it's of entity type. So this will save it to our DB, and we are returning here a blog, so we have to use a return statement here. Now it looks good to me. Let's verify at controller is we are good now. Now let's return it. So for returning I am using entity status as we have created a resource. So for this I'm going to use created, and inside body I'm simply returning this created block to our client. So this is how you have to create one API. You have to mark your endpoint or resource. So this is a post type of API, I am marking it as post mapping. Second task is what will be the input. So here we are passing a block. So for that I have used a request mapping so that it will map our JSON data to Java object. What will be the return type? So here the return type will be block after creating it, and after creating there is another requirement that it has to give 201, that is created to the client. So for that I have created service. Inside service, let me show you. I have initialized my repository and save it to my repository. So it will be returning a block. I have stored it inside created block. Now using response entity, I am returning a status created directly 201. See, 201 to the client along with body which we have created. That is the new block. So the second task is to work on this get all 8 blocks. So as we know, this will be a get mapping. So let me mark this as a get mapping. Although the task is same, this will be blocks. As this is going to return a list of block, say blocks. I'm going to call my service block service. Say get all blocks. It's not created here. Let me click it. It gives me suggestion to create get all blocks. So now this service class, I will return all the blocks using this get all blocks methods. So for that I'm going with return start repository. We are having a find all method in the JPA, so it will return all the list of blocks which is there in our DB. So now go to controller back. Now we have to return it, correct? So we have to verify whether the blocks are empty or not, correct? As it's returning everything, so I will do that null check in the next to show you guys. Status. So it will return a status of okay, 200, okay. And in body, I'm going to pass the blocks, list of blocks. It looks good. Now the next task is to get block by ID. So in similar way, I will be doing a get mapping. Yep, get mapping. So we will be getting the ID from client, and we will be getting it as a path variable. So I have used path variable to map the my ID, and the return type will be block. So in the similar way, I'm going to do this dot block service. So now it will, I'm going to create method. It's created. This is get block by ID. So in this scenario, there may be a situation that client is passing a ID and that ID does not exist in our system. So in that case, we can return null or any other message to our client. In this case, I'm going to return null. So let's see how I'm going to do. So I will be doing this dot log repository dot find by ID. So we are having a method find by ID in our JPA. So it works only on primary key. So make sure that you are using primary key while searching with this one, find by ID. As my ID is primary key, so here I am using find by ID by passing. And let's return it. It will return a block. So it as a optional or block. Return it as a block and return it. Say return block. We are having or else method in our optional class. If it's null, then we are returning null. It looks good. Now come back to our controller class. Here we have to return back to our client. So for this, I'm going to check if block is null or not. Based on that, I'm going to return the particular HTTP code to our client as well as the response message. So I'm going to check if block not equal to null. Okay, I'm going to return response entity. If it's not null, I'm going to return as okay along with body. That is our block which has been returned from the DB. If our block is null, then in that case I am going to return that we are unable to find, that is not found against that ID. Not found. Yep. Now the next task is to update the block. So let me explain the requirement first. So here we are having our existing block and user want to update the block with data. So here user is passing the ID along with the block which he want to update. So this ID will be the existing ID and it is just a new block which they want to simply update. So for this as well, as the return type is block, do it as a block. service. We'll be having ID as well as updated blog. Yeah, looks good. Now create this updated blog here. Okay, so first of all here we have to check whether this ID exists in the system or not. So for that we will be using a exist YID method from JPA. So let's save this. Start exist YID. This again works on only on primary key. So if it exists, then we have to set this ID to the existing block. Say set ID. So this will update my ID and return the object after saving it to DB. Save updated block. If the particular ID does not exist in our system, so in this case we are simply returning null, as we are adding only functionality to update those blocks which exist in our system against those ID which exist in our system. Although we can modify it going forward. So first of all, I'm just simply going to create an API so that you can understand it and start working on it. Okay, again we have to check if the return of block is null or not. Based on that, we will be returning to the client. So let's check it again. Block not equal to null. Then we are going to return OK. Else we are going to return not found. I forget to mention the resource name here. So as this is just an update, so I'm going with put mapping, and we are getting ID from path variable, right? So let me take the ID from path variable. So this ID will be taken from path variable, and this updated block we will be taking it from client body as well. I will show how to test this application as well using Postman API. So the second last one is deleting an resource. So for this I am going to use delete mapping. Say I'm going to delete by ID. Taking ID. And here we have to gain this dot block service dot delete by ID. Correct. But for this we are having a requirement. If ID does not exist, then we don't have to delete this. So we have to first verify whether this ID exists in our database or not. So for that we are simply going to check get block by ID, as we have already created it by passing the ID. If it's not equal to null, that means it exists in our database. Then we are going to delete this one. So let's create it first. We have to simply do log report or delete by ID, passing the ID. Come back back to your controller, we have to return void here. So for that we can return no content. In this case, let's do that. Build it. If ID exists, then we have to delete, else we have to say we were unable to find this ID. Let's return the client not found dot build. Yeah, it looks good. So looks good to me. Now the last one is a customized search. So searching block by category. So this will again be a git mapping. So git mapping, we will be having a search. Okay, and we are going to, as I have used request param, so I'm going to search it with by passing params. So our key will be this category and value will be the name of the category. So this is going to return me a list of block, say blocks. Now there is a challenge, and that's why I have added this feature in our application. So as you know, JPA will not be having any sort of direct searching by category, as we can search on or find directly by primary key. So let me show how we can do that or achieve that using JPA. So for that we have to create one method inside our JPA, sorry, repository. It will be returning list of block. And the method will be, we have to follow the convention, that will be find by. Whatever we want to find, we have to write find by inside JPA. So for that we don't have to write any query. JPA will do all the tasks for us. So we have to do find by name of the field from which you want to search, or name of the name of the column from which you want to search. So that is find by category. Find by category containing, it will be of a string category. So find by category containing, JPA will write the query and search the DB along with this category, and it will return the list of blocks for us if it exists in the system. So now go back to block service and simply do return this to block repository dot find by category containing category. That's it. Now go back to your controller. We have to return this to user, so we have to check whether the blocks exist in the system or not. So for that I am simply going to check if blocks is empty. If it is empty, I am going to return not found. Else, let's remove this. I'm going to return the block along with 200 response. Okay. Blocks. Yep, we have error. So this looks good to me. Let's check it. Yep, this looks good to me. Optimize the imports. Now our application is ready. So let me show you again. So we are having our application YAML file here. We have our application name along with database configuration. Second is I have created one entity, that is blog. We are having three fields, ID, title and category. So this ID is primary key. So for that I have annotated it with ID, and to I have annotated @entity. So we have to use @entity whenever we want to let our database know that we are using this as a table. So by default it will create a table with name blog. Second one is creating a repository. So I have created one interface and extended it with JPA repository. For that, the first parameter I have to pass it as an entity name. Second one is the type of primary key. I have annotated with repository. This was a requirement to custom search using category, so I have used find by category containing. I have explained this already. Next, I have to create the service to work with saving a new record or saving a new block to our database, getting all the blocks, getting block by ID, updating the block against an existing ID, deleting the block against ID, and searching the block by category. And at last, we have to work on our category. So here I have create block, get all block, get block by ID, update block, delete block, and search block by category. So first of all, let's stop the application. I'm going to rerun it from here directly. Let's check we are able to pass this. So as you can see, our application has just started on port 8080. So now let's test the application. So to test the application, you must have a Postman client. Let me show you that. So I am assuming you are having all these endpoints ready. So say to create a resource, let me hit it first to check if we are getting the data or not. Yeah, as you can see, we are getting 201 for created. So we have one block created. So the title is inauguration at Bonkhede. Categories, I'm putting it as a cricket. So let me check it using get all blocks. So we are having get all blocks. This is the endpoint. Let me show you that as well. So we are having block for controller. To get all the blocks, we are having slash blocks. So as we have created only one block as of now, so we have to verify that it will be giving only one. It's not required. Yep. Yeah. As you can see, we are getting it only one record. Let me create another one. So say IP address or crazy event. Yep. So this ID has been automatically created as we are having our strategy as generation type as auto. Let me verify it with my get call to get all the blocks. Yep, we are getting 2 blocks. Let me search it by ID directly. So searching it by ID. Okay. Getting the block as I am passing these IDs. See, we have to pass the ID to get the block against a particular ID. It's giving me IPL is a crazy game. Oh, my bad. I've written it as a crazy. Okay, so it works for me. Let me search by title. Do I have a search endpoint here? Yep. So let me do it as a none, as it's just a get API. So I'm having my search endpoint. I have to add a field category. I'm searching it for cricket, say. So for cricket, you see, we are having two blocks, so it is giving us two blocks. Say tennis, as we don't have any tennis category in our block yet, so it must give us not found. See, we are getting the status as not found, as we have set it in our application. Let me show you the update functionality as well. Okay, let me check if we are having any update here. Yep, we are having a put mapping. So see, to update a block, where is my update? Yep, update block, we are having a put mapping. We are passing ID along with the new block. So I used a put mapping. I am passing this ID too. So I was having a query, correct? So let me update it. Okay, let me pass it directly. Not a crazy game now. Let's see if it's updating it or not. Yeah, it has updated and returns that IPL is not a crazy game now, along with the status 200. Again, I have written it crazy instead of crazy, my bad. Okay, so let me verify it using get all blocks. See, previous one has been deleted. So now we are having first one inauguration at Wankhede, which we have created under category cricket. Second one is again under category cricket, but as we have updated it, and that is IPL is not a crazy game now. So it has been updated one. So that is how we are creating an API, testing it. So as you have created this API, so you can share the contract using Swagger documentation, or you can share it directly, and other microservices or third-party API or even you from UI, the user or your client can access all your resources. Although going forward we will be implementing security and other more details, and we will be working on microservices. So thank you guys. Stay connected. In next blog, I am going to work on. Okay, so I'm going to create a comment service. So user can add a comment on that one, and based on that, I will move forward to create another API depending on our requirement. Thank you for now.